Hello, boils and ghouls, and welcome to the Cold Dead Heart Horror Break, where we recap and review what we've watched, read, and collected over the past week. I'm your host, Gigi, and joining me today are Ken of the Dead and C from Wither. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get scary. All right, Ken, what have you been doing?
So I rewatched a couple of movies. Nothing super new. Last Voyage of Demeter, the new vampire Dracula movie. I saw it in the theater in October, and I remember liking it, right? Like being like I didn't love it, but I remember coming out and being like jazzed about it, right? Like I'm a monster kid, right? So anything with a cool monster, I'm gonna like. But it's on Amazon Prime now, so I watched it again. Just kind of like outside of the theater hype, and just kind of sat down and watched it. And I gotta say, like, while I stand by the creature design in that movie, I thought was fantastic. The movie itself is actually kind of like boring. There's so much wasted opportunities for like good kills. They really slacked on the kills. Like it's a Dracula movie, right? And it's a monster movie. I don't know who they made this movie for. Like, and I'm thinking about it as I'm watching it. I'm like, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, I've heard that from other reviewers as well. Like, it just kind of felt like it was missing something. They didn't know the audience.
Like, they didn't, yeah. And it's like they weren't made. Like, I don't know who made this movie or what they had in mind, like what their vision was. But like, it definitely wasn't a movie made for horror fans or monster fans. Like this, and it's weird because the cinematography was good, the acting was really good, right? This isn't to take anything away from anyone involved in the movie, other than I'm assuming the director. But like the acting was good, and the monster, and that's the most important thing. The monster looked dope. It's just one, we didn't get enough of him, and two, like the kills were so weak for like a modern monster movie. I don't know, man. Like I stand behind the design, but like for that story of Demeter, I don't know if you guys have seen the BBC Dracula series, the 3-part series.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So you know, the part 2 is that story.
Yeah.
They did it way better, man.
Oh, really?
Like forget this. Yeah, forget this movie and just watch that, because that was better in pretty much every way. They tried to do too much with this. I think, like story wise, and maybe like just trying to emphasize and make people care about the characters. But like, if you're walking into a Dracula movie, like a monster movie about like this mass slaughter on a boat, no one's there really to care about people's lives. You know, if they want to see a monster kill people, that's all they want, right? Like, you're walking into that movie, that's like 90% of the people, that's all they want, and we didn't get a lot of it. There are some really cool scenes, and again, I think that the way that they did Dracula, like the way that they portrayed him, was really cool. Yeah, and even at the end, you get like this kind of Nosferatu vibe, which I thought was cool. But we're talking like, I don't know, five thumbs up, you know, out of a possible 100. So yeah, I don't know, man. I can't get behind that movie.
When did it come out? I'm trying to think.
It was last
October.
year, like October. Yeah.
Do you think it was a lot of people, like, depending on what the movie is, right? They see reboots, or they see, re-envisionings of movies come out, and they never really, a lot of times, not never, but they very often don't kind of live up to the expectations. Like, do you think that might be part of it, or do you think that it was like an attempt at?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, like, when, especially in the last couple of years, right, when these movies are coming out and they're like a retelling or a re-envisioning of something, that we grew up on, right, they do a really poor job at like inserting modern time.
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, like, yeah. I
haven't seen it yet, so I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Hey, I'll say this. It wasn't my problem with it, right? My problem was essentially if you're gonna go into a Dracula movie, if you're gonna go into a monster movie, right? Like it's already a story, right? It's part of the Bram Stoker story. And if you're gonna go into that with the budget that they had, because like the movie looks gorgeous, so they must have had an incredible budget. Um, there's this like know your audience factor, I feel like,
Yeah.
and if they made it for people that aren't into horror, those people are not going to like the movie, right? It's a monster movie. If they're making it for families, it's not a family movie. You know what I mean? So, like, the only audience you could really sell something like that to is going to be a horror-based audience. And they're, other than the monster design, which was really cool, and like I hate to keep saying it, but it's the only thing I liked about this movie. Yeah, like other than that, like and the acting was good, and there's all these factors that you could put into it, but overall it just felt like a huge waste of time and wasted opportunity. Like so much wasted time on stuff that I just didn't care about. I want to see a monster kill pics. That is it, man. Like, like I don't want to say that's it. Give me good dialogue, give me good acting, give me good cinematography, but like the whole experience of itself, right? Like that movie could have been this dark, cinematic, 2-hour long slaughter, and I would have been like 10 out of 10. You know, right? Same actors. You know what I mean? Like, but just give me that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because from the trailer, it was almost like a feature-length Penny Dreadful, but it's sounding like a Penny Not.
Not so dreadful? Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
That's a great
100%. Yeah. Yeah, other than that, just some retrospective watching on old classic movies and stuff, some cool stuff. But that was the big one that I wanted to talk about and just really get it off my chest. What about you, Steve? What did you get into?
Well, this week was extremely busy on a number of fronts, so my selection was pretty limited. But I did end up watching Dead Rising: The Watchtower last Friday during our movie night. I know we had watched it previously, I think 4 or 5 months prior. I don't remember why I didn't remember it, because I know I had seen it even prior to that, but we brought it up in the last episode that was talking about the video games, and Dead Rising being one of those kind of genre shaking games, kind of with like the way you could play it and everything. It was super open world, and you could be really really creative with kind of how you were killing zombies and stuff. So watching the movie was a lot of fun, especially when I was 100% paying attention to it, like on Friday. They did a really good job, I think. It didn't seem like it's one of those weird ones where it doesn't seem like it has an enormous budget, but like the way it was filmed, the actors that they had in it, they had a really stellar cast, and I thought that overall they just did a really really good job with it.
Yeah, no, it is like really good quality for like a movie that a lot of people don't know exists, which is weird. I don't understand why that movie is not really popular.
Exactly.
It is,
and the game was good, and you'd figure with the way that people still talk about the game that movie would have a big reception, but it just doesn't.
And it's funny, it specifically doesn't with the game community. And the game community, and I don't know if it's like a new revelation that the game community is getting around the movies, like other properties, like that 5 Nights at Freddy. Like everyone in the gaming community was all over that movie. It blew up the their revenue, right? Like they loved it. But I feel like maybe like prior to a couple of years ago, movies about games were like, even games that had a huge following were, I don't know if they were shunned or just not noticed. I don't know. Like even Dead Space, right? Like we were talking about the Dead Space movies. Dead Space had a huge following in the game community, but like I never hear anyone
Yeah, I think with this one, it was long ago enough to where the game to movie adaptation was still relatively new.
Right.
I mean, I can't say that it was relatively new. Resident Evil had done its thing. I think at that point, Silent Hill had done its thing. But with the gaming community, a lot of people, they talk about how the movie didn't have, the real open world experience that the game had, and a lot of and a lot of like the interactive, their interactions within the game didn't happen in the movie, and it's like you do have to kind of understand that a movie is very, very limited. When you're playing a video game, if you go left once, you can stop and go right the next time. Whereas in a movie, that just doesn't make sense. So you have to pick a singular path, to get to the end point. And I think that's part of what people didn't like about it. But
smaller sandbox.
Yeah, but I mean, they did a really good job of keeping the kind of the reasoning, why the zombie apocalypse was happening, its location, the government doing its crazy stuff, and that pharmaceutical company, kind of like trying to play puppeteer in the background. So I think they did a really, really good job, and I am looking forward to Dead Rising Endgame next week, because I know we've watched that, and I don't remember. So,
that's this Friday, right? We're watching that on the Wither server.
Yep, we'll watch it on Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There you go.
But yeah, that's really all I got into. But Gigi, what about you?
So I did get into a few things. One is that I finally watched Thanksgiving, and so quick disclaimer: I am not a slasher fan. I know that's like blasphemy in the horror community. I know, but it's not my favorite. It has to be really kind of special for me to like it. Like, I like the Terrifier.
No, that's like ultimate slasher, though.
Right? Yeah.
That's like, that's like revved up to 10 slasher.
Yeah, I almost feel like I don't know. I'm not a huge true crime fan either, so I think it's sometimes a little bit too close. I prefer monsters or like Lovecraftian stuff, zombies, obviously. But yeah, so for a slasher, going in and it not being my favorite genre, I thought it was really good. The kills were inventive, and I like the kind
that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Like with modern day slashers, it's like, if you don't have clever kills, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Why are you making a movie? Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm super looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I missed it when it was in theaters. I was so bummed. Just something kept popping up every weekend, so I'm big time looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think it was, in general, it was really well done, and I liked it. I also watched the Walking Dead spinoff with Maggie and Negan, the first episode of that, and
No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but it did get me back into watching The Walking Dead, because I'd really fallen off of watching it at about season 7, and I was a really big fan. Yeah, and I've always wanted to get back into watching it, because I do love the characters and I like the universe that they created, but yeah, it was dragging for me.
Yeah, like we talked about this before. Same thing. Like season 7, season 8, they just became such chores to watch. Season 9, I would deem unwatchable. Like, I've mentioned it before. Like, we usually wait for a whole season to come out and then binge watch the entire season on a weekend. And like, I think it took us like well over a year to get through season 9. And every time it was just so we could finish the season. We weren't looking forward to it. We didn't enjoy the episodes. Season 10 was killer though. We're into season 10 finally. Nice. We had put it off so long because we had hated the show. We're into season 10 now. We're loving it. And I'm really looking forward to the Negan and Maggie.
I had goosebumps. I'm really into it. So I'm going to get back into The Walking Dead. I also really liked Fear the Walking Dead, which I also stopped watching for some reason. So yeah, I need to get back into the whole Walking Dead universe. And then the other thing I started watching is on YouTube, and it's Katrina Weidman. So this is ghost hunting stuff, but Katrina Weidman is like well known in the ghost hunting community. She's been on several different ghost hunting shows, and she has a YouTube channel now where she does ghost hunting stuff, and it's so good. And she is just like one of those people that's really relatable. I don't know how to put it. Like, she just seems authentic and enjoys what she's talking about. Yeah. So I definitely recommend that. Her YouTube channel is just Katrina Weidman. So if you wanted to look it up. And then, of course, Suitable Flesh on Shudder with Barbara Crampton. So amazing.
Now, I wonder, like, so I like that movie. I want to talk to you about it. See, have you watched Suitable Flesh?
No, I have not. I actually, it's a whole thing with the AMC's class action lawsuit that has to do with Shudder.
Oh.
Is the only reason I haven't. Just because when that came out, precautionary, conspiracy theorists came out, and I canceled Shudder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bummers.
Yeah, so no, I
want to hear more about my conspiracy theory.
Yeah, what's the conspiracy theory?
Well, so I would say it's the conspiracy theorist, right? So there's a giant class action lawsuit about AMC. So if you had AMC Plus, and then I think there's 3 different platforms that AMC kind of is the parent company of, and Shudder is one of them.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a 4-year period, 2016 to 2019. I haven't read up on it, right? This is all hearsay, so nobody quote me. But they were either negligent with their consumer information, and it got sold to a bunch of foreign entities, like it normally does. You know what I mean? Right. It's pretty par for the course nowadays. But I had actually, working through the government, a couple years ago, the same thing happened in the government, and I got a letter in the mail, and it was, hey, all of your personal information has been found in China, so here's 6 years of fraud prevention for free. It's kind of like their payout to everybody. With anybody who got caught in it, they got a free identity protection for however long. So ever since then, I've been kind of weary with stuff, just because it's never fun to have your credit card information stolen, or all of a sudden you got charges. So yeah, it was just one of those things.
For fee because the Chinese stole his identity.
Like I said, don't quote me. But I did immediately shut my Shudder off after that, and just kind of a precursory, anticipation of what's going to come after that. So
it was just like a happy bonus for me. Like, legit, I only have Shudder for The Last Drive-In.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love The Last Drive-In. Holy crap, that was amazing.
Yeah. Easily, like 50% of my movie knowledge comes from Joe Bob.
Right? Same.
Yeah, totally. And Creepshow, right? Mm-hmm. Other than that, like, man, Tubi's got more horror movies, like 10 times more horror movies for free. So, like, paying for Shudder, like, outside of those 2 things doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But, like, I love My Last Drive-In, and I'm digging Creepshow. So, and I got Suitable Flesh, and I was like, yes, because I was super pumped for it. So this is the question I was going to ask you, G. I've got a lot of things to say about it, but I'm kind of wanting C to watch it before I go too deep into it. But do you think, so it was a good movie, right? Good movie. Do you think you would have liked it as much as you did if it didn't have Barbara Crampton in it?
No.
Because I know my answer is no.
No. I feel like the cast is what made that movie.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a fairly typical, straightforward Lovecraft story, right? I mean, which I like already. So that's one thing it has going for it. But yeah, the cast. definitely made it.
I was just thinking about that quietly to myself because like all pumped on it, after I had watched it, and but like I feel like a lot of that excitement going in and a lot of joy in that is just seeing Barbara back into Lovecraftian horror, and like, man, I love her. Anyways, yeah, just a little side question there, but yeah, good movie.
So, have you been in like reading anything or collecting anything this week too?
Yeah, like I do my weekly horror comics. Blood Commandment just wrapped up 4-issue miniseries by one of my favorite creators, Simon Kudensky. That's that vampire noir story that I've talked about a few times. So the last issue came out, dark, sad, bloody, really good. It's pretty much what I was hoping for. As far as collectibles, I did get a shipping notice on my NECA. You guys know I'm a NECA horror figure fan, monster fan, and I got notice on my Nosferatu. So they did a 7-inch scale, like 100% screen accurate representation of Nosferatu from the 1920s silent film. The images look amazing, yeah, and they always look better in hand than they do in the images. It's like this weird effect, like promo images, for anything else in the world, look better than what you actually get, right? Like, look at a McDonald's poster of a Big Mac and then go get a Big Mac, and they're not even in the same family, right? But the NECA figures, NECA and McFarlane, man, like, I don't know what it is, but like in hand, their figures look way better than the promo pictures. So I'm pumped for that. He's going to go on the shelf with my other monsters. I'm still waiting on my black and white creature from the Black Lagoon, but should be rolling in soon. And yeah, that's about it for collectibles. I didn't get into any gaming recently, but I am looking forward to getting back into some Dead War.
For shame. Yeah, you gotta. It's such a fun game.
What about you, C? Any books? Any games?
So books, kind of. As you guys are intimately aware, me and Z are writing. We're in the process of writing another book that should be finished in like the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks before it gets, we work through it and have it published and ready to go for the Monroeville Living Dead weekend event in June. So my reading ever since we started this book writing adventure has dropped off dramatically. But my wife did pick up a book of short stories called A Mammoth Book, Zombie Apocalypse, and it was created by a guy named Stephen Jones, and it's very similar to the Wither Chronicles, where it's 14 or 15 authors who all contribute, a different story. So it's easy to kind of read. You can sit down for 20 minutes and read through a story without having to get completely engrossed into the book. You can set it down and, come back to it at any point.
I love that.
But it's been really good, and the perspectives that they do are pretty neat. Like some of them are, email conversations from like scientists to, politician and stuff. Some of them, the stories are just like newspaper clippings, kind of like chronologically telling the story, over a certain period of time. So yeah, their take on it was really, it's given me some ideas moving forward. But so I started reading that. I'm only 2 stories deep into it, give or take. And I mean, it says Mammoth Book on the front, and I mean, it's massive. It's a little bit smaller of a book, so it makes sense that it would have more pages. But yeah, it's. I mean, I find it doesn't have page numbers on, which is a little frustrating. But it's in the 500-page realm.
Wow,
It's probably like 6x9. Yeah, it came out in 2010. So, but it's been really good so far.
I love horror anthologies, man. Like that is my job. Like I got a short attention span. That's why I like that. It's why I'm like a horror comic book junkie, right? They're like 5 to 10 minute reads, and then I can move on with my day.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of horror anthologies.
And then
That's cool.
I did. So there's another zombie series. It starts off with, it's called Plague of the Dead, and then there's 3 books in it: Plague of the Dead, Morning Star, Strain, and then I cannot remember the third one.
Oh, I feel like I read that.
Yeah, the author Z.A. Recht. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Mm-hmm. So I bought it years and years ago, and I thought I had lost it. Gave it to somebody to borrow, and they just never gave it back, which happens all the time. So I ordered it, got it. I was like, it's a different cover, so I'm not familiar. So I read the whole book, and I was like, I've already read this. And then I just happened to be looking for a pair of shoes underneath my bed and found the original book that had been there for like 5 years. So I have I have bought 2 copies of the book number 1. But yeah, that's pretty good overall. It's more like a military theme. It follows, a group of soldiers who are deployed. I believe it starts off in Africa. It's been a really long, and then it moves to them coming back, and goes through the whole zombie apocalypse thing. But as far as reading, it's been really limited, like I said, just because we try and write a bunch every week, so that's kind of where my free time goes right now. Games, the Wither tabletop game that doesn't officially have a name yet. Hopefully it will in the next couple weeks. We did that.
There was a couple of cool contenders for names, right?
Yeah, so Dead Trek, A Survivor's Journey was one. I'm actually trying to... I can't find them. But yeah, there's a couple decent ones, and the whole idea was, community built game, so the community should name it, that type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, we're hoping to kind of narrow that down in the next couple of weeks, and then especially with the second full on session being on Saturday, that's going to kind of, I think, be our go no go for it being fully operational, mm-hmm. And then it's minor tweaks here and there or whatever, but. And I had a lot of fun playing that, and playing it with players who had never seen the game before, and watching them kind of pick it up and get into the mechanics of it was a ton of fun.
Right.
And collectibles.
And aren't we having one of the primary game devs on for an interview soon?
Yes, you're absolutely right. So one of the guys who has been very, very instrumental. His online presence name is Kippy, and I believe you were saying, right, it's next week or the week after. He's going to be on and talking about it. Yeah, coming up. Mm-hmm. Sorry, coming up. But no, he's been absolutely instrumental. If he hadn't been a part of it, I'm not certain we would be even close to where we're at if we would have even been able to stick with it at all.
He's a genius with this stuff, man.
He's been crushing it.
I've played, I've never ran or done the mechanics or anything like that. I've played, but so I could understand a lot of stuff, and then he gets deep dives into the behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, he sends me some messages sometimes, and I'm like, dude, you got to pretend like you're talking to a 3-year-old. To help me understand, because I don't know what we're talking about. But he's been able to take the very rudimentary caveman style things that I've been saying, and then being able to formulate them and then implement them into the game appropriately. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. Coming up soon.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool.
But yeah, and then collectibles. I collect old school trash B zombie movies on DVD or Blu-ray anytime I can find them. I haven't found any in quite a while. And then I collect their books just because I love reading them. But really outside of that, I've never been a big collectible guy. It's just not something that...
I think old VHS and DVDs, I think those definitely count nowadays, right? Yeah. Physical media. Yeah, it's it's funny when I talk to people about collectibles, right? People picture I'm a figure collector, so that's pretty much as nerdy as it gets. and you can't laugh at me, Gigi, because you are too.
I am.
But like when you explain that to people that aren't into collectibles, they're like, "Oh, so like you play with toys?" I'm like, "No, like they have displays, like they look like movie sets, right?" And that's one thing. I also collect, like vintage movie posters and Blu-rays and vinyls, and it's all the same thing, right? Like collectibles are collectibles. Movie props, right? Like movie props are probably my biggest thing, right? But it's all part of the same thing, and I definitely think that physical media has gone that way because we are so digital now, right? That it is like if you collect VHS or DVDs or CDs or anything like that, is the collectible market now, right? Like you're a collector.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I'm up to like 180 DVDs, and I had them all out, alphabetical order by series if they were in a series and everything.
Right.
And my wife,
and that's just zombie genre stuff, right?
Yeah, just zombie.
Amazing.
And my wife one day was like, "This has got to go." so for now, they're all in a cardboard box in my garage that I just sift through whenever I'm feeling nostalgic.
Yeah,
but on the collectible piece, right? Like I can, like when I see like if I go into a store that has a lot, or if I'm at a convention, which I don't go too often, and I can appreciate everything that they have, and the value of the items isn't diminished.
Right.
It's just a thing that I have never done. You know what I mean? Like,
except for the zombie DVDs.
Except for zombie DVDs and books, yeah. I'm starting to think I got a problem with zombies.
Yeah. Have you ever done a count on your zombie books? Like, what's that?
I want to say last time I checked, I was in the high 30s, low 40s. But I'd have to go through and actually double check.
Right.
It's been a while since I've counted. I won't lie, and I've probably picked up 10 or 15 cents in. So I could be
cracking
mid 40s up to the 50s by now.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyways, that's enough of me. Gigi, what about you? Any books, collectibles, games?
Yeah, so there are a few books that I'm reading right now and or about to start. Right now I'm reading The Closet by Lori Fonteness, and it is like a ghost story where people buy a haunted house essentially, and two of the people there, the mother, no, but they find out quickly after they get it, and the mom and the daughter are both psychic, so they are talking with like the malevolent spirit and battling it, and the dad's like a skeptic. So it's good. I like it. I'm enjoying it. And then the other one that I'm really, really looking forward to diving into, because I've just gotten it, is Rust Colored Rain, which is an awesome title, by Otto Schaefer. Right? Like, that's a cool title. So it is a zombie story, because I have a slight zombie obsession as well. And the title comes from how the zombies were created, which is kind of fun, because a lot of times they just say mysterious illness. But but this is an asteroid was hurtling towards Earth, and they like nuked it or destroyed it, and it dispersed into our atmosphere, and then a rust-colored rain came down, and anybody, I guess, from the blip, so this isn't like a spoiler or anything, anybody who is exposed to it turns into a zombie, and like a lot of people were out celebrating in it because the Earth was not destroyed by an asteroid, is what is the vibe.
Does it have like a Night of the Comet vibe?
The synopsis did a little bit, which is another reason that I got like hooked into wanting to read it. Right. So I was like, "Ooh, that sounds like lots of fun."
So, yeah, it's funny because it's funny that you said that, because instantly, at first, I was thinking my brain didn't go to Night of the Comet, which we also watched recently as one of my favorite 80s movies. But the original Night of the Living Dead, right?
Mhm.
It was the satellite on Venus that they...
Oh, yes.
yeah. And it was the radiation from the particles or whatever from the detonated satellite that they destroyed, the Russian satellite that they destroyed, and the radiation from the pieces. So you mix that with Night of the Comet, and you got a pretty classic zombie origin.
Yeah.
You've got rust-colored rain.
Mm-hmm.
You get rust-colored rain.
Yeah. Which actually, cool. In one of those, and thought just to kind of also bridge it over, I can't remember which anthology it was. If I do remember, I'll put it in the show notes. But it was written by Stephen King, I want to say. He contributed a story to the anthology, and it was about the end of the world and the Antichrist. But I'll explain how it turned into a zombie story. So, in it, there's like this genius, and he finds how to like get a wasp colony to not be as aggressive by like these special enzymes or something, and he figures out how to disperse the enzyme into the atmosphere and make humans more peaceful. So for 7 years, humans have an unparalleled success, and like they're building and they come together as people, but then it starts to like turn and have a negative effect, and every time you're exposed to the rain, you like lose more and more of yourself, including like basic functions.
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And then everybody
that's
is a zombie.
Super unique. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the very unique. Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to, oh, it's this virus, or oh, it's this, whatever, permafrost bacteria that melted from global warming, But yeah, that sounds super cool.
I wish it had been the whole book, because I think it was only like 7 or 10 pages, something like that.
Oh.
But it was good. Because it was an anthology. That's one of the things. I love them. And then sometimes I'm like, I need more. More, please. Yeah. And that was definitely one of those. And then as far as games, of course, I finished Alan Wake a week ago. Or Alan Wake 2, I'm sorry. A week ago or so. And I had missed, in the universe of Alan Wake, Control, which was released in 2019 by Remedy. And it's not an Alan Wake game, it's just the same universe, and they allude to it a lot in the second one. And I am kicking myself for not playing it sooner. It is so much fun.
Do you feel like you missed anything by playing it out of order, or is it all still good?
No, it's all still good, because they only really allude to it, so it's not like it took away from the game, like they were referencing it. Like they heavily reference the first Alan Wake and the second one a little bit, but mostly on the first. And so I feel like these were almost like bonuses, the references to Control, and it makes me want to play Alan Wake again. So yeah, just to see what else there is. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then for collectibles, so there's an artist called Wizard of Barge, and he does really fun and creative designs. And this isn't so much horror, but it is something I'm collecting because it's like a D&D thing. But there's a really awesome dragon and a wizard and stuff on the t-shirt. And it just came in today. I'm so excited.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, and I like... on the front of it, it says BDSM, but it's battles, dragons, swords, magic.
I saw that picture you posted of the show.
That when you ordered it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, I like it.
Right.
Cool. So I'm super pumped about that, because I collect T-shirts and
I'm back for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like mostly like concert T-shirts. Like I had like concert T-shirts from like when I was like a teenager. Like I keep them they're like precious gold, and we go to like 4 or 5 concerts every summer, right? So
Nice.
it's like a thing. We gotta get there early, make sure we get like the tour T-shirt or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like my whole weekend wardrobe is just going through concert T-shirts.
I love it. Well, yeah, so that's pretty much everything for me.
Cool. This was a good weekly, guys.
It was a good weekly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Does anyone else have something to add?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm horror breaked out.
All right. Well, thank you, fellow listeners, for tuning in, and stay spooky.
Night, guys.
Later.